Well, well, well. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Daily Cooking Show. Welcome back to the cooking stream. I hope you're all having a beautiful Saturday because if you're watching this live, it is currently Saturday, January 4th, 5 p.m. EST, and it is lovely to have all of my sous chefs with me. Welcome on into Moonha, hello to Shai Chica, hello to Tarina Chess, hello to Hulkin, hello to Sunny Peach Crush, and many, many more are joining us for today. Also to Liam. I don't want to go ahead and leave you out. I'm a little bit low energy today, so I have a nice cup of tea that's going to be keeping me company throughout the process today. We have a lot of cooking to go ahead and get done. Okay, fine. Hello to Eskia and hello to G-Spent Gaming as well. It is lovely to have you with me. So, my friends, we have a pretty big menu today. We're going to be doing a lot of dishes that I love. What kind of tea? I just have some black tea. I wouldn't be able to tell you what kind though. Okay, so everybody, we are going to be doing a dish that is vaguely inspired by Cajun Creole red beans and rice. We're going to be essentially doing lentils and rice today. We're going to be cooking these lentils with a little bit of sausage. It's going to be super, super delicious. We're going to be using the Creole Trinity, which we'll talk about in a second. And then we'll also be doing a nice, big, beautiful pot of collard greens. And my inspiration for today mostly came from the fact that on Wednesday, I went to a little party, there was a little gathering, and then my lovely friend made some collard greens. And then I remembered how much I actually missed collard greens. Collard greens, for those of you that have watched this show before, know, wait a second. I completely messed that up. For those of you that have watched the show before, you know how much I love collard greens, is what I'm trying to say. I love collard greens. They're maybe one of my favorite dishes of all time. They're super flavorful. They're super delicious. They're excellent for you. And honestly, it is maybe one of the most rewarding things that you can possibly make in a home kitchen. And then alongside it, my friends, for a bunch of extra protein, we're going to be doing some lentils. And we're going to be doing it with tomatoes and a little bit of sausage. And then last but not least, a little bit of just plain old buttered rice to be able to soak everything up. So let's go ahead and walk through some of the ingredients that I have here today. Everybody, we're going to be beginning with some green lentils. Now, you could use brown lentils, you could use green lentils, and you could use black lentils. All of them are mostly interchangeable with some different cook times. For something like this today, you do not want to use red lentils or yellow lentils, okay? So green, black, or brown lentils. Also, thank you so much to Stolen Coil for the Prime sub, and Happy New Year to yourself as well. So, I have some lentils all set, all ready to go for today, and I'm going to show you guys how to prep them, okay? And I saw somebody on Twitter complaining that I've been doing too many lentil dishes. Well, guess what? I love lentils. Lentils are so nutritious, they're so cheap, they're so easy to make at home, and they're so easy to make delicious. I will keep on continuing to sing the praises of lentils as often as I can, my friends. So, sack of green lentils, all set, all ready to go for today. Okay, excellent. Next, let's talk about my sausage, specifically my sujuk. Now, some of you might notice, hey, wait a second, if this is Cajun Creole cooking, why aren't we using something like andouille? What's going on here? Why are we using a Turkish cured sausage? Everybody, listen. I do not have access to good quality andouille. I live in an area that is predominantly Turkish, and so as a result, I have access to sujuk. Now, the thing that I really love talking about is the interchangeability of ingredients. This is a dried, cured sausage, so it's already fully cooked. It's already technically all ready to go. Also, Cook with Kate, thank you so much for the raid. Hope you're having an excellent day today, and I hope you had a lovely stream. That's very sweet of you. So, I have some sujuk, I have some Turkish sausage, even though it is not traditional in Cajun Creole cooking. That is exactly what we're going to be using today. You could use andouille, you could use chorizo, you could just use whatever you have on hand, or you know, whatever is just the nicest thing that you have available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and set that down behind me. Also, for everybody that's joining in, welcome. It is lovely to have all of you. If at any point you'd like to see the full list of all the ingredients and everything that we're doing today, you can do exclamation mark menu. And if you have any cooking questions at any point in time, you're welcome to ask me. Chef, is that a black denim apron? Show me your ways. Oh yeah, Tarina, it is. It's pretty sick. And I finally got some new kitchen towels. Okay, next, I have here a pseudo Cajun Creole Trinity. Now, for a lot of different cuisines, you have essentially a set of aromatic bases that are used in a lot of different dishes. In Cajun Creole cooking, the Holy Trinity is green bell pepper, celery, and onions. I wanted a little bit of additional heat for today. I originally wanted poblanos. I couldn't find poblanos. So instead, I'm just going to be using these unreasonably massive jalapenos, just so that I get a little bit of extra vegetal taste into the lentils themselves today. Because honestly, guys, I think green bell pepper is so boring compared to something like a poblano, compared to something like a jalapeno. There's such like an earthiness, there's such a very strong vegetalness. So I have the jalapeno in place of the green bell pepper. I'm going to be using just one thing of celery for today. And then I also have some sweet onion, but theoretically, you could use any kind of onion that you would like. Next, for the lentils, I'm also going to be using some tomatoes. We're going to be slicing them, we're going to be charring them so that we get them really nice and smoky, and then we'll be adding them inside. Pepper tier list 1, chef. That's a good point, Askia. I should get on that. Okay, now, my friends, let's talk about the collard greens. For those of you that are uninitiated, well, it's time for you to get initiated. I love collard greens to death. They're stewed, they're cooked down, they're going to get super tender, and they're going to become really flavorful. So this is about 2 heads of collard greens, maybe 1.5 to 2 pounds of it in total. Also, Catherine, thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. I washed it down really good. I soaked it. I got rid of all of the excess sand. Are you sure that you're low energy today? Yes, Woods, this is me at my like 90%, 80% energy at the moment. Okay, but we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the stream today. So, collard greens, all set, all ready to go, nice and washed. My friends, you want to really thoroughly wash them because they're full of sand, they're full of grit, and you don't want any of that in your food. It's just going to be awful on your teeth. So soak them, wash them, give them 5, 6, 7 passes, as many times as it needs for the water to be devoid of any and all sand. Gonna go ahead and put that down. And now, my friends, the key to a really delicious pot of collard greens is not in the greens themselves, but it is in the broth that you make. It is all about that delicious seasoning liquid for the collard greens. Now, traditionally, you would use things like smoked turkey wings or smoked ham hocks. My area is also really Russian, and we sell a lot of smoked chicken legs. So, I'm using smoked chicken legs. Feel free to use leftover barbecue meat. You could do smoked turkey legs, smoked turkey necks. You could do smoked pork bones. You could just do a ham hock. You could do fatback. You could do bacon. Any salty, cured, and or smoky meat is going to be really essential to flavor your collard greens, my friends. So that's what I have here. I have 3 smoked chicken legs, all set and ready to go. And last but not least, for the collard greens, honestly, an acidic element is always really welcome. And in my case, I'm just going to be using some apple cider vinegar to finish. Because with all of that meatiness, with all of the fat that's going to come out of the chicken legs, with all of that smokiness and all that richness, you want a little bit of acidity to cut through it all. So you could just use plain white vinegar, or in my case, I'm just going to be using some apple cider vinegar to go ahead and finish. So that is roughly all of the ingredients for today. And if everybody's ready, I would like to show the newcomers that we have coming in for today, all of our lovely waiters, what we do here. So, if everybody's ready for today, I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please and thank you from all of you. That'd be really appreciated. And then we can do a little bit of housekeeping. Everybody, welcome on in. I hope you're all having a lovely day. If at any point in time you have any cooking questions whatsoever, remember, I am here to help you out and I'm here to teach you how to cook at home. So, they're always going to be welcome. We're going to begin by soaking the lentils, and we'll talk about the function of soaking the lentils. We're going to be making my stock in the pressure cooker. We'll be doing all of our vegetable prep. We'll be cooking up the lentils, frying the sausage, making the rice. We have a lot of work ahead of us for today. So join the Discord, check out the Patreon. Let's get cooking, my friends. So, cutting board, knife, all set and ready to go. I have here my lentils. Okay, and so we're going to begin. Before we actually do the lentil stew today, we're going to begin by soaking the lentils in a little bit of salty liquid. This is something that I talk about all the time when it comes to cooking lentils, and it's a technique that I took from America's Test Kitchen. So by soaking the lentils an hour ahead of time in a little bit of warm salty water, we're going to essentially make the lentil skins a little bit more flexible and stop them from bursting as much when we actually get to cooking them. Okay, and that's just going to really allow us to keep the consistency just really nice and really refined so that we don't have a bunch of exploded lentils inside of our dish today. So all that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to grab a bowl, I'm going to grab my lentils, and we're just going to be using some warm tap water. It doesn't have to be boiling hot water or anything. And I neglected to get a measuring cup sooner, so please forgive me while I go ahead and try my best to find one. Okay. Excellent. I have found a measuring cup, and we're going to get a cup of lentils and 4 cups of water roughly, although it doesn't have to be too exact or anything. I just want to be able to portion out the amount of food that I'm making for today. But yeah, the soaking the lentils part, guys, I promise you, you can't really mess it up or anything. You just want to make sure that you have enough water to cover. Okay, so roughly, even though I'm using a liquid measure, let's get a cup of lentils. Wonderful. And I'm just going to go ahead and get inside a bowl. Not all lentils need soaking though, right? That's right, Serena. You have no reason to soak something like red lentils or yellow lentils, because those, my friends, are devoid of skin. They have been peeled. They have been polished. Okay? So, those are my lentils. I'm going to go ahead and put away the rest of them. And I'm going to go ahead and get some nice warm to hot tap water. Okay? And that is just going to allow us to really properly soak the lentils, my friends. And we're going to go in there with the 4 cups. So that's 2. And then another 2. Okay, so everybody, once again, is this step actually essential? The answer is no. Is it going to be the end of the world if you have a couple of exploded lentils? The answer is no. If you're pressed for time and you want to make the stew immediately, well, everything is just going to work out and it's all going to be okay. However, if you want a nice, refined texture at the end of it all, I'm just going in with my salt now, my friends, just a couple of big pinches. Okay, if you want a really nice refined texture, if you want really perfectly cooked, evenly cooked lentils, I highly, highly encourage you to go forward with the soaking process. And so all I'm going to do is just give them a little bit of a stir. And now we just have to let them sit for an hour or so. And that is all of the prep that our lentils need for today, my friends. Super simple and super easy. Okay, just making sure it's all nicely mixed in, get them all sunken down to the bottom, and I can now just put that away, out of sight and out of mind. Okay, next step, my friends, we need to go ahead and start making the stock for the collard greens today. Okay, because once again, the collard greens are only as good as the cooking liquid that you make for them. So I encourage you, I want you to use bacon, I want you to use fatback, I want you to use turkey legs, I want you to use pork bones, I want you to use any sort of bony, collagen-y cuts of meat, especially if they've been smoked or cured, and that is how you're going to get a really, really beautiful pot of collard greens at the end of the day. So in my case, once again, I'm going to be using my smoked chicken legs. And I'm going to be doing my stock inside of a pressure cooker pot. The reason why I'm going to be using a pressure cooker, my friends, is just because it's making the process a lot quicker than it normally would be. Instead of, cooking it for about an hour and a half, the stock is only going to take about 30 to 40 minutes at high pressure. So I really, really love talking about, oh, okay, that kind of slid off. I didn't mean for the chicken legs to come out so aggressively, but I guess that's okay. Anyways, I do often talk about the importance, I think, of having a pressure cooker at home, and my 2 favorite things to use it for will always be beans and stocks. Beans and stocks, it saves you so much time. This is how you get into the habit of making your own homemade stocks, my friends. If you don't want to go ahead and stand over a pot for about an hour and a half. It just makes it a lot quicker, it makes it a lot easier. So, we have my chicken legs in here, but now we can actually add a couple of things extra to really make the stock pop. Specifically, we have all of these different vegetables. I have my peppers, I have my onion, I have my celery, and we have all of the vegetable scraps that come out with them. So instead of throwing away those vegetable scraps, as you might have guessed, we will be instead adding it into the stock for today. So, got my cutting board set up, got my knife all ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and grab each of my vegetables, and we'll see how many of the scraps we can end up salvaging, okay? So, with something like my jalapenos, I'm not going to be adding in the seeds, I'm not going to be adding in the stems, but because of the fact that we normally just trim off the tops like so, I figured I may as well get these guys inside. But we're not going to get the rest of the seeds in because I'm not really looking for my collard greens to be spicy. Okay, I'm just looking for them to be meaty, I'm looking for them to be unctuous, I'm looking for them to be nice and smoky. Tech Jansen, that is a good point that I probably should be using gloves, but I will instead completely disregard and ignore you. Hope that helps. because I forgot. Okay, so with my celery, I'm just gonna snap off the tops and the bottoms that we normally discard anyways. And these are all of the fibrous bits that come out. Okay, if you're ever doing raw celery, my friends, and it gets stuck in your teeth, right? You're eating buffalo wings, you're dipping some celery in some blue cheese. Okay, and it gets stuck in your teeth, it's because the fibers super thick, super bouncy, and you did not peel them. So by simply snapping off the top and the bottom, we'll be able to get all of those fibrous strands off. So into the pressure cooker pot they go. My jalapeno tops, my celery my celery peels rather, and then we're also going to get some of the papery skin of the onion. Are we going to char the rest of the pepper? No, we will not, Moonha, because we'll just be charring the tomato. The pepper itself, we're just going to be sauteing it with a whole bunch of olive oil. Okay, so onion. We're going to start by cutting off the top, nice and simple, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a peel. Although I am considering using 2 onions for today, we might want to use one for the pot of collards. Why would you need gloves though? You would want gloves for 2 reasons. One of them is just to protect your hands from excess moisture if you have eczema, which I do. And then the second reason would be to stop the capsaicin from getting stuck on your fingertips and getting stuck on your fingernails. So that next time if you go to touch your eye, or other things, that it doesn't burn you. But jalapenos, they do tend to be super variable and very inconsistent with their spice. So I honestly don't really mind that much. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my onion top that would normally just be discarded into the pressure cooker pot. And this way, my friends, we're just maximizing all of our ingredients and we're getting the most out of them instead of just throwing away the scraps. Okay, now I'm gonna take them, I'm gonna slice them in half lengthwise just like so, through the root, and All-Star Bro, welcome on in. I hope you're having a good day today. And all I'm gonna do is I'm going to peel off the first layer of the skin, the dirtiest part of the skin itself, and then off goes the rest of it that can just be added into the pressure cooker. So I'm always quite generous when I peel my onions. The onion looks giant. Yeah, Moonha. So this is the thing that I feel like a lot of Europeans say anytime they watch an American cook. They always remark on the size of the onions. And the reality is, yeah, we do actually have some pretty massive onions. Okay, so there we go. Gave that a nice little peel. We got all the papery skin off and gone. And I'm going to go ahead and simply add all of those scraps into the pressure cooker pot. Now, I am really heavily considering doing another onion, but I think honestly half an onion for the amount of lentil stew that we're making and half an onion for the collard greens is going to be more than okay. So I think we'll just stop there. And let's go ahead and look at the pressure cooker pot. So all my vegetable scraps, my smoked chicken legs, but guys, once that delicious chicken broth is made, we're going to take out the chicken legs and we're going to simply shred up the meat and then add it back inside, and it's gonna be super delicious. The rest of those vegetable scraps will be discarded after pressure cooking. The only thing that we have left to do now is we're just going to go ahead and cover it with as little water as it needs to be nice and submerged, and then we'll get it going. So, grab my pressure cooker pot. I'm gonna go ahead and fill it up, once again, everybody, with just as much water as it needs for everything to look mostly covered, and then we'll be all set. I don't wanna make too much stock for today though. I do wanna emphasize, because I want my flavors to be really concentrated in the pot. I want it to be able to coat the collard greens. If I were to make a stock that's too loose, if I were to make a stock that's a little too, too diluted, right? It's not going to be able to function as the seasoning for the collard greens. So the goal is to keep it concentrated with as little water as you possibly need. So pressure cooker pot, gonna go on now, and it's going to take about roughly 40 to 50 minutes of high pressure. Although everybody, again, with things like this, the amount of time that you cook it for, it is super flexible. There is no exact recipe for things like this. Honestly, you're just looking to get the meat tender enough that you can pull it from the bone and to cook it long enough that we're able to extract as much flavor from the chicken as possible. Chef, does the meat being above or below the waterline matter for making stock? That is a good question, Serena. And the answer is the following. If the meat is significantly poking up above the waterline, that is a lot of meat that is not actually going to be able to cook. The meat that is exposed at the surface doesn't really cook all that evenly. However, when it comes to the chicken legs, and with how aggressively it's going to be cooking inside of that pressure cooker pot, it is going to be moving around slightly, and the water level is going to rise as it, of course, comes up to a boil. But generally speaking, you don't want your chunks of meat either in a braise or either in just like a straight boil. You don't really want them to be exposed too much because it will result in uneven cooking. Okay. Oof, that was a lot. We just simply soaked the lentils. We got the pressure cooker pot going. And now, my friends, we can begin with the rest of the prep that we need, but not before I have a little sip of tea. I got a tray making stock like this. I always buy the box crap. I'm sure this tastes so much better. Tech Jansen, it does. That is one of the most important things that I talk about, which is when you're cooking at home, the difference between store-bought box chicken stock versus homemade chicken stock, or quite frankly, any kind of stock, it is night and day. Okay? Homemade stocks are just such a nice way of using up excess ingredients, excess produce, especially excess chicken bones if you get into the habit of buying whole chickens. Okay? So I just think of it as honestly essential. It takes your cooking from here to here. Okay. So, that was a couple of sips of tea. Now, let's go ahead and get cooking with all the other stuff that we have to do. We're going to need to do all the vegetable prep. We're going to need to also char and really get our tomatoes nice and smoky. And we'll talk about that actually right now. So, this is a technique that I have borrowed from Mexican cooking. As you guys may know, one of my favorite things to do is to char my tomatoes. And the way that I like to do so is under the broiler. Although there's a lot of methods. You could just do it on a cast iron pan, really, really hot. You could do it on a comal. You could even do it over an open flame. But the reason why I like to char my tomatoes, especially when it goes into these really quick stews, where it doesn't cook too long, is because the tomatoes by themselves, especially this time of year, they don't really tend to add much. They're not super flavorful, they're just kind of fleshy. By getting them nice and charred, by getting them nice and smoky, we're able to get a really, really subtle smokiness inside of the final dish today, which honestly I am going for. So, in order to do so, I'm going to take my broiler, I'm going to set it up on high, and we're going to let that heat up for just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to get our tomatoes ready for the broiler. So taking it, setting it on high. Next, once again, I like doing this on a sheet tray with just a little bit of aluminum foil. Makes your life so much easier. Get a little bit of foil. Just like so, wonderful. And I've realized, guys, honestly, I don't think we have that much vegetable prep that we need to do today. So we'll really slow down, we'll pay attention to the steps, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. The broiler is on, it's getting nice and hot. As a general broiler safety tip, my friends, remember, you don't really want to ever leave the kitchen when you have something stuck under there, even more so than just the regular oven function, because things can sometimes catch on fire because of how hot it gets. So, tomatoes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and glove on up, simply because of the fact that I have eczema and I would avoid, preferably, prolonged exposure to the acidity from the tomatoes. So I always cook with an excess of nitrile gloves whenever I'm at home. Okay, broiler preheating, gloves are officially on. Now, I like to char my tomatoes after I first cut them in half. The goal is not to really roast the tomatoes or get them super cooked. The only goal, guys, is to get that skin really, really nice and charred and really nice and smoky, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and take these bad boys, and I'm gonna show you my favorite way to get the core out of the tomato. A lot of people, and I would like for you all to listen to this one, please, they take the tip of the knife and they go in and they dig in this way. And that's not a bad way to get the core out of a tomato out, but I do not love it because it really tends to aggressively saw the inside of the flesh of a tomato. I would only dig out the core like this if I needed whole tomato slices for, let's say, fried tomatoes or putting them on like a sandwich. In my case though, all that I'm gonna do is begin by slicing them in half, slice them in half, slice them in half, and then hold them in my hand very gently like this. 1 incision, 2 incisions. Beautiful. 1 incision, 2 incision. To just get the cut that we need for all of the tomato cores to be popped out. Excellent. So let's go ahead and repeat with each of my lovely tomato halves. And this way, my friends, it's a lot more gentle than going in there and sawing, and it's a little bit safer because you can very easily overextend with a paring knife, and I just feel a lot more confident. I feel like I have a lot more control. It's a little bit more difficult to do in really large batches because you've essentially doubled up the amount of cuts that you need to do, but I still really happen to like this method. So, my tomatoes, and I'm just using plum tomatoes because they're really, really fleshy. I'm going to go ahead and get all my tomato quarters out, and then I'll go ahead and pop these guys under the broiler. Now, the amount of time that it takes is super, super variable. It is just really, really dependent on the strength of the broiler, on the humidity, on how much moisture is on the outside of the tomato itself. So just get it in there and let it go for a little while until the tops are just super aggressively blackened and charred. So, gonna go ahead and clean up my station. And then we can go ahead and continue with the rest of the vegetable prep for today. Although my cutting station is a little bit wet, I would like to ideally wipe it down just to keep everything really neat, to keep everything really nice and organized. And we'll get all of my vegetables cut down for use today. Again, I have realized, actually, I don't think we have that much to do today. The lentil stew is going to get done quite quickly. I just hope the chicken stock is going to get done in time. A lot of the things that we're doing today are going to be dependent on cooking the stock in time. So, vegetable prep time. I have my onions, I have my celery, and I have my jalapeno. So once again, everybody, in so many different cuisines, there are universal aromatic bases that are used to really kind of put you in the realm of that cuisine. The most basic one that we always reference is the French mirepoix, which is a mixture of carrots, onions, and celery. Cajun Creole cooking swaps out the carrot for some bell peppers, or in my case, I'm going to be using jalapenos. Not super traditional, but it's still going to come out really delicious. I wanted a little bit of extra spice. I want a little bit of extra flavor, okay? And so, in Latin American cuisine, you have a sofrito, and that varies from country to country. In a lot of East Asian cuisine, your base is scallion, ginger, garlic, and then sometimes chilies as well, okay? So those are the kinds of things that you want to think about, depending on the cuisine that you're making. Okay, let's go ahead and get them all prepped up. Before tomatoes became popular as tomatoes, they were referred to as those round red things in the culinary world. Esquia, I'm a little doubtful, I suppose. So, we have time today. We're going to go ahead and get a really, really nice, beautiful dice on these bad boys. Okay? I want this lentil stew to just be really, really perfect in its final texture. I personally don't like too much celery. And so to adjust it to my own personal taste and preference, I only have one measly little stick of celery here. And we're going to begin by simply cutting the celery into strips like so. First in half, and then in quarters. Excellent. And then we're going to simply take them all, we're going to stack them up, and this isn't the freshest celery, so I'm quite glad that I could be using it up. And for today, everybody, I'm going to be going after a small dice. I want all of my vegetables to be nice and tender by the time that they're all the way cooked through, but I don't want them to be so small that they completely disappear inside of the lentil stew. Even though the lentils are the star of the show, I would like to be able to still occasionally bite into a little chunk of vegetable. So, stack it up. We're going to practice a claw grip, meaning your pinky and your thumb, those are the ones that are making contact with the cutting board, and they're the ones that are gliding back. One of the biggest mistakes that people make, and I would love to hear yes, chef, please and thank you. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to a claw grip, everybody, is they put so much vertical pressure downwards that they slide the food with them. Okay, because then as you're cutting, you're pulling the food with you. That is a mistake. What you want to be able to do, my friends, is practice your grip in a way that your top three fingers, your ring finger, middle finger, and index finger, are simply gliding along the top. They're not pulling, they're gliding around the top. They're gliding around the top, and only your thumb and your pinky make contact at the bottom. So, let's try this out. Ready? We're going to dice and pull back. Dice and pull back. We're just gliding back. There we go. There we go. There we go. The pinky and the thumb, they keep the stack all together. And there we go. Nice and easy, nice and simple. We have some beautifully diced celery, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get a small little transfer bowl and get it out of sight. We'll keep the station clean, we'll keep cleaning as we cook. And then before we get too ahead of ourselves, we're also going to go ahead and check on the tomatoes, see how they're coming along. So, come with me to the stove, please and thank you. I want to see how smoky they've gotten. I want to see how nice and charred, how nice and blistered the skin has become. Gliding claw sounds like a martial arts move. I see, Shai Chica. Pretty fitting. Okay, everybody, as you can see, we got some of the skins just barely going so far, but I feel like we can push them a little bit further. So all I'm going to do is rotate my sheet tray and pop them back inside. Again, the goal is not to get them fully cooked or anything. We just want the skins really, really nice and charred and smoky. So back to me. Now, we have some jalapeno now. I do not think that I need this entire jalapeno. It is, however, going to be dependent on just how spicy it is. Jalapenos, especially in recent years, have become actually quite mild. They've just become a lot more vegetal. So the best way to find out whether or not the jalapeno is spicy, as you might have guessed, is to just taste it. Cheers. Completely and totally sweet, not even spicy in the slightest. Totally negligible, awful, but it is still a little bit more tasty than the common bell pepper. So I'm going to simply pop out all of the seeds because there's no point to having the seeds if it's not spicy. I'm really mostly just looking for the vegetal taste with a slight little bit of heat to them as well. But because of the fact that the jalapeno is actually quite mild, that will allow us to use more of it, which I am not complaining about. Welcome home, Trash Can Cat Mom. It is lovely to have you. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let's go ahead and taste the other jalapeno because I would like to be able to shove in as many peppers as possible. So we'll see how this guy tastes. Eat the tip. Just nothing. There was just nothing going on with them, guys. No heat whatsoever, but I do still prefer the flavor. I do still prefer the flavor over that of a plain old bell pepper. My Hispanic friends say you have to be angry when you buy jalapenos if you want them to be spicy. Thank you, Zuckerburgers. I appreciate it. The excellent advice. I was a little too happy. I was having too good of a time grocery shopping today. Okay, we're going to cut them in the exact same way as we did the celery. Okay, although I am going to be going after slightly bigger chunks today. So small to a medium dice. Once again, simply just cutting it in half and then into quarters, just like so. Cutting it in half and then into quarters. And now, my friends, just like the celery, we can take it, we can stack it up, and we can cut it. Now, that stack is a little bit too big for my tiny little hands. So I'm gonna have to do this in 2 batches. Same principle though. Just take it and dice it, and dice it, and dice it, and dice it, and dice it. And I'm going to double check that it's not spicy by eating another chunk as it is, because I'm not making that much lentil stew. I don't wanna go overboard today. Not spicy in the slightest. Okay. In she goes, in with the celery, and we'll continue to dice. And then we'll be able to take out our tomatoes, let them cool down a little bit, and then we'll simply blend them up. You chopped instead of sliced? No, Moonha, we're still slicing here. You can see that we're slicing. Slice them into a proper little dice. Awesome. And once again, everybody, you are welcome to cut them as fine or as large as you would like. But in my case, I cut my celery super fine because I don't like biting into undercooked celery, but I still want big chunks of peppers and I still want big chunks of onion inside. Okay, as for prepping the onion, that is going to have to wait because it is time for my precious tomatoes to come out of the broiler. They've gotten nice and charred, they got nice and blistered, and now they can just cool down until we got them to the point where they can be blended. So I'll just go ahead and show you guys that in the meantime. Okay, that's cooling off, that's doing its thing. Excellent. Best left to just chill out for a little bit. Oh man, guys, my hair is getting in my eyes. At this point, I should have gotten my bangs trimmed like a month ago, and I'm still continuing to suffer, if you guys can't tell. Being a woman is difficult, man. Okay, I can't really touch my hair either because I don't want to get, like, you know, food in my hair and vice versa. So we'll figure it out. Okay, onion. We're going to have to get a nice medium dice on it. Did I just rub a jalapeno seed onto my cheek? Yes. Will I be fine? I think so. This is half of an onion. Again, we're not making that much lentil stew today, so this is going to be more than fine. Everybody, we're going to be going after a small dice today. So all I'm going to do is the following. The root is attached. We're going to make a bunch of incisions parallel to one another, but following the curvature of the onion, following the curvature, following the shape. Amazing. Then I'm just going to give it perhaps 1 or 2 incisions horizontally through the middle, but still keeping it attached by the base. And then everybody, last but not least, let's get that dice that we've all been thinking about. Let's get it nice and diced. Nice and diced. Beautiful. There you go. And that is just a nicely diced onion. Again, small to a medium dice or so. As big or as small as you would like it. But I'd like my onions on the slightly bigger side. Okay, do something like this. Chef IMO, it's safer to do the horizontal cuts first. I find that it's a little bit more difficult in my experience. You have to put in a little bit more pressure, a little bit more force. Okay, get all those guys into my bowl, and then we'll get it mixed up, and then that will be ready for cooking up. Okay. My onions, my jalapeno, and my celery for my Cajun Creole inspired Trinity. But again, the biggest difference being that we're not using bell pepper. Instead, we're using the jalapenos. Okay, gorgeous. This I can go ahead and set behind me. Now, for the collard greens, all I'm going to do is I'm going to simply thinly slice up this onion. I'm going to cut off the butt, and parallel to almost the grain, parallel to the direction the cells are going on the onion, we're going to get a bunch of slices. Everybody, I'm going to say this once, and I'm going to say this again, and I've been saying this for well over a year and a half. Slicing and chopping are not interchangeable mechanisms. A chop, a vertical motion like this, will cleave outwards and will give you a wedge of onion as opposed to a nice, proper, evenly thick slice. So instead, my friends, with a nice sharp knife, and you will never cry if it's nice and sharp, we use the full length of the knife, base to tip, base to tip, base to tip, base to tip. And it doesn't need to be too thin, it doesn't need to be too thick. It's all gonna cook down anyways, you don't have to worry about it. Base to tip, just like that, my friends. That is the texture that we are looking for out of this onion. So, I'm gonna go ahead and scoop it up. I'm gonna throw it onto the plate. And this will all be added into the pressure cooker pot, into the stock, whenever it comes out. Okay, my hair is getting insane. It is beginning to really, really irritate me. So I think it's gonna be time for me to perhaps tie up my hair. So everybody please forgive me for a moment. Oh, I like having long hair, and I like how it looks, but I don't really like cooking with it. It's difficult being me. When I was on Chopped Junior, I wore a bandana. And it looked kind of cringe, but it was like a bandana with some chili peppers on it. But I'm still thinking about it. Oh, I thought you were gonna say you're gonna cut your bangs, Tech Jansen. I've just simply not gotten around to it yet. Okay, onions are sliced. My Trinity is also done. The pressure cooker pot is going, and the tomatoes are charred. We're juggling a lot of different components. I need to cool down the tomatoes to a point that we can go ahead and get them slightly blended up. Or we could even just hand chop it, but I don't want to make too much of a mess on my cutting board. How many channel points to do the Chopped Junior outfit? Tarina, I think that's a $100 donation. No, that's too little. That's not enough. I don't know. Somebody throw me an offer. Bring the chili bandana back. Oh no, I don't know if I'm a bandana guy anymore. I think that ship has long but sailed. Is it time for the rice, Moonha? I'm afraid not yet. The rice is gonna be one of the last things that we need to get to today. So, Tomatoes need to cool down. We need to go ahead and cut up the sausage. We're just going to get some nice chunks. We're going to get some nice thin discs, and then we're going to be cooking them. We're going to be rendering the fat, and then we'll add in all of the vegetables to cook in there as well. And it's going to be super, super delicious. Okay, where is my sausage? There it is. Excellent. So, everybody, once again, I am not using something a little bit more traditional to Cajun Creole cooking, like andouille sausage. I have sujuk. Now, this is so important. So many different ingredients, everybody, are interchangeable. The first thing that you should do is use up the ingredients that you have available to you, be it leftovers that you have at home or something close enough to you in a supermarket, and then you should go for the best of that thing that you have available. Because of the fact that I can't get good andouille, I'm just simply going to get the best sausage that I possibly can. Okay, this isn't even really that traditional of a dish that we're doing today. I'm going to be doing Cajun Creole lentils with rice, not necessarily red beans and rice. And so at this point, I feel inclined to just kind of go ahead and do it as I see fit. Now, I do not want too much sausage going into this today. The sausage is there to add flavor. It's there to add salinity. It's going to give it a little bit of extra cured flavor into the final dish. It is not meant to be the thing that we're eating the lentil stew for. So, in my case, I'm only going to be using about this much sausage for today. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that little tip off. Wonderful. And let's see if we can go ahead and peel this bad boy, because you do need to peel sujuk. Let's get all of those peelings, all that casing off. And I'm so sad, everybody. My favorite little Mexican supermarket, my favorite little Mexican store closed. And that's where I used to buy all of my skirt steak. And that's where I used to buy all of my chorizo. And now that is in the past. So instead of using chorizo, we're using some sujuk today, which is okay. We'll live, but I am still a little sad about it. Okay, everybody, I'm going to be cutting some coins. I don't want them to be too thin. I don't want them to be too thick. And we're not just chopping it, we are slicing it at that. And we'll give it a little taste. It is fully cooked after all. So tasty, guys. So delicious. Okay. That's right. Chef can have a little sujuk as a treat. Okay. Get them nice and sliced. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the last butt of it off as a little snack once again. Okay. Everybody, if you've never had sujuk before, I really, really recommend it. Where does it originate from? Excellent question, Moonham. The answer is Turkey. And you know me, you know how much I love Turkish food, you know how much I love talking about Turkish food and Turkish cuisine. I'm gonna get the sujuk thrown into the fridge that I no longer need for today. My chicken legs are going, they got about 30 minutes left on them. Amazing. Today is actually not gonna be that long of a stream the more that I think about it. Okay. That's all done. I'm just simply going to go ahead and quickly wipe off my plate. And yes, it is indeed Turkish. So once again, everybody, if you have any questions about anything at any point in this process, please feel free to ask me. Let's go ahead and get my coins of sujuk onto the plate, and maybe one last snack actually as a treat. So tasty. Dude, I gotta stop. One of my worst habits is whenever I'm like getting bacon ready, I always have a little treat of bacon. I always nibble on a little bit of bacon. I love raw bacon. I wish raw bacon was safer to eat, but I love raw bacon. I love raw pork belly. Okay, anyways. This is, however, fully cooked though. So there's no safety or health concerns with this one. Gonna have a little sip of water. And then we have a couple of things left to do. We're going to need to get all of my collard greens nice and sliced, ready to go for the, of course, collard greens today. And then we're going to need to blend up those tomatoes. So here it is, this big, beautiful bowl of collards. Now, there is one challenge, which is I don't really know where to put it all after we slice it, because it is currently sitting in my biggest bowl. So I need to find well, a second biggest bowl, I guess, that we can just go ahead and directly add it into. Or what we could do is we could wait for the pressure cooker to be finished and instead add the collard greens directly to the pressure cooker pot without using up another dish. I really don't want to get another bowl dirty, so I'm leaning towards actually just only slicing this when the pressure cooker is done. Okay, great. I've already decided we're not going to prep that now, but what we will prep in the meantime, everybody, is some garlic. And when I say some garlic, I do actually just mean a lot of garlic, because you can't really have Cajun Creole food without plenty of garlic inside, which is going to be so delicious inside of the lentil sausage stew. I'm going to get how many cloves out? Whatever this amount is. A whole bunch of garlic, my friends. Excellent. Gonna get that guy put away. I'm going to take all of my garlic cloves and I'm gonna give them a nice proper smash. Give them a smash. Give them a smash. Give them a smash. Excellent. And now that we've given them a very, very light smash, we can just easily pop out all of those skins and reveal the beautiful garlic clove underneath. Never enough garlic, that's right. Although, I could have probably been a little bit more aggressive with my smashing on each of them. There we go. Easy does it. No ilium, I wouldn't say bam. Chef, how long did you lose your sense of taste when you had COVID? Honestly, it was like 3 days. 2 to 3 days. It wasn't too long for me at all when I had it. Maybe one time, I think when like the second time that I got COVID or so, because I had COVID like 3 times. The second time that I had COVID though, I think it like lasted well over a week and a half before I could smell and taste. But it was pretty miserable. I ended up kind of like eating like a gorilla, where I was like eating like whole like fruits and vegetables because I just didn't care and I wanted it like done with as soon as possible. And I couldn't really justify cooking anything. So I just enjoyed eating whole chunks of stuff. Okay, I could have probably smashed those a little bit more to get those skins to pop off easily, but that's gonna be okay. Let's get all of those scraps out and away and into my waste bowl, which should always be ready whenever you're cooking. Okay, garlic. The last thing that we have to do to these things before we smash them through the garlic press is we're just gonna cut off all the little dried off butts on them. Get them out, get them gone. Just like so. Okay. Next, garlic press. Let's go ahead and get my favorite kitchen tool of all time, the handy dandy little garlic press. And again, everybody, I apologize if I'm like slightly slurring my words today. I'm a little out of it. Again, just having a day for sure. A little bit tired. Okay, garlic press. All that we need to do, as you might have guessed, get a clove inside and press it. Excellent. Get a clove inside, press it. Clove, and press it. Although, I am curious why my air conditioner doesn't seem to be doing anything at the moment. It's getting really hot in my kitchen. Okay, all that garlic pressed. And once again, my friends, there is no such thing as too much garlic, especially in Cajun Creole food. I like to be quite maximalist. I like to be quite heavy with the amount of garlic that I use. So that's ready to go. And the only thing I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I'm just going to check on why my air conditioner is not actually functioning. Because it should be cold in here and it's not. Oh well, I don't know what it is. We'll figure it out though. Okay, my garlic is pressed. I can go ahead and put that behind me. Now, I'm going to, before my garlic press dries out, I'm gonna go ahead and quickly poke it with a brush. And I do need an air conditioner because I have full studio lights with me. Everybody complains that garlic presses, oh, they're so annoying to clean. Everybody, they're not annoying to clean if you just clean it immediately after use. Take it, water, poke it with a brush, a little bit of dish soap, and you're done. It takes 5 seconds. Do not be lazy, do not let it dry out because it's just going to become so much more difficult to clean later on as opposed to doing it in the moment. So, away she goes. Now, I have to say, I'm not all that enthused at the prospect of pulling out my blender just to go ahead and get a few tomatoes processed, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead and take a knife to the tomatoes instead. Let's go ahead and do that. I got my tomatoes. I'm gonna go at it with a knife. Once again, I don't really feel like taking out my blender for this, and I'm not actually looking for like a super smooth texture to the lentil stew anyways. I'm looking for something a little bit more rustic than that. So, out they go. And then we'll just get a small little mixing bowl, and we'll just go ahead and get them cut up a little bit. We can even mash it with our hands if it's become soft enough. I think we should just mash it with our hands. I don't even think we have a reason to cut them up. Besides the skins I would like to keep. I would like to get the smoky skins in there as much as possible. So actually, I do believe we'll keep cutting it in that case. So, tomato. Although, even better than that, my friends, I've just realized, we could simply cut the tomato skins and mash the tomato with our hands, like so. And I think that's going to be a little bit easier. There you go. That's more than fine, actually. It all works out, and then we'll just be able to slice up those charred, smoky tomato skins. Although, I probably should have waited to smash it so I don't dirty my gloves for no reason. But I'm already fully committed to the bit. Get those skins, and we're gonna slice them up. And then the rest of the tomato is just gonna get very, very slightly smashed up, just like so. And that is going to get added into the lentil stew for today. Very, very gently, make sure that it's submerged. You don't wanna splash this stuff all over your kitchen. I've been there before, and it becomes very, very difficult to clean off later on. Let's get them mostly processed, mostly broken down, just to help them cook up really nice and quickly when we get to making the lentil stew itself. Okay, wonderful. And then last but not least, everybody, I'm gonna take off this glove. And we're going to see, will we be able to effectively slice all of my tomato skins? And I believe we will. They're a little bit papery, but in them is all of that smoky flavor that we worked so hard to obtain, so I don't want to waste any of it, not one bit. Again, a blender would have been probably the best tool for the job, a food processor, or even a molcajete, but at the end of the day, my friends, I am looking to minimize the amount of dishes that I use. So, let's scoop it up. And we're gonna use a bench scraper to clean up our station. We're going to really, really get as much of that tomato flesh back into the bowl as possible. Okay, that's done, that's good, that's all set. My tomatoes are all ready for cooking. And I can probably get this guy thrown into the oven once again. Okay, so everybody, last but not least, let's get some cleaning done. The tomatoes are processed, the vegetables are processed, the lentils are soaking, the stock only needs about 20 minutes more and then it's all done. So in the meantime, when we have a little bit of downtime, we always clean. And I would like to hear a nice yes chef from everybody watching, please and thank you. Because cleaning as you go is how you stay organized. It is how you stay on top of things in a home kitchen. You're done using your knife for a little bit, don't let the food dry on it. Let's go ahead and rinse all that tomato flesh. Let's rinse it off, let's get it gone, and let's get it done. Whew. Easy. Give that a little wipe, get that ready for the next thing, which is gonna be for the collard greens. And the lentil stew, at the end of the day, everybody, it's only going to take a few minutes. It's not going to be too long at all. Lentils, they cook up really, really quickly. We don't need to spend a very long time infusing flavors inside because we have all the delicious vegetables. We have all of those delicious, jalapenos. Okay. That's done. That's been taken care of. The garlic is done. The tomatoes are done. The Holy Trinity is done. The lentils are continuing to soak. I guess one more thing that we can do is find another thin coin of sausage to snack on. They're so delicious. Guys, I really love sujuk. Sujuk is so tasty. It is honestly wonderful. So, the order of operations for the lentil stew is the following. We're going to begin by getting the sausage nice and browned. We're going to render all of its delicious fat out, and then we're going to be cooking the vegetables in the sausage fat itself. Okay, we're going to need to take the collard greens, we're going to cut them up, we're going to strain out the stock. I think I'm just going to go through the process of cutting it now. I'm not going to be lazy about it. I'm just going to dirty another pot, I'm going to dirty another bowl. If it's more dishes, it's just going to be a little rinse, and then we'll be okay. We'll come out of it alive, I hope. So, let's see how I'm going to get this done. Hopefully, I can get a nice big plate that I can put all of my collard greens on. Is it better than chorizo? That's a good question, Ron. And the answer is, it's just purely dependent on what I'm looking for. They're not honestly all that different. But is it better than like a dried Spanish chorizo? That I wouldn't be able to really speak on, actually. They all do different things, so they're difficult to compare. Okay, everybody, I'm trying my best to see if I can get a plate full of collard greens without it spilling over, so that we can simply dump all of the cut up collard greens into the bowl. So please forgive me. I'm gonna need to set the station up. I didn't actually think about it too much, so that is on me. And it seems like it's going to fit on my cutting board just fine. Okay. So everybody. Oh, hello. Okay, there we go. I have a big aggressive mess of collard greens that my camera does not seem to actually like all that much. Okay, I don't know why it's freaking out about the exposure, but all we're going to do is we're going to take all of these collard greens, we're going to take them, and we're just simply going to roll them up. We're going to stack them up, roll them up nice and tight. Okay, almost like a chiffonade, but we're really just going to cut up some nice big ribbons of collard greens, my friends. Okay, and in we go. I don't want them to be too thin, but I don't want them to be so thick that it's going to be difficult for us to eat them later. So take them and cut them into ribbons. Cut them into ribbons. Keep in mind, they're going to shrink a whole bunch in the cooking process itself. So cut them up, cut them up, cut them up. Excellent. Just like so. And get all of those greens thrown into the bowl. And they've been thoroughly washed. They've been thoroughly soaked. We got all of the sand out of them and gone. And these little tiny fleshy bits that are left over, that is purely from the tomato. Let's go ahead and get the next stack, the next big pile of collard greens. Roll it up and slice them. Everybody, once again, collard greens are one of my all-time favorite dishes. There's just so much history behind them. They've been eaten all over the United States, not even just in the South. They're so, so, so tasty. Into the bowl they go. Excellent. Now let's do this with all the greens. Take it, roll it up. I could eat infinite bowls of them. Hi, Pixel Guy Steve. Welcome on in. Lovely to have you, and I hope you're having an excellent day today. Rolled up and slice those greens. Slice them up. Slice them good. Again, if you don't slice every single last green, it's going to be totally okay, because keep in mind, it's all going to shrink down. Collard greens are incredibly forgiving. The only stage at which they're not forgiving is the cleaning stage, so do not take it lightly. Do not take the process of cleaning the greens lightly. I spent a good amount of time doing them. But they're cheap, they're accessible, they're available all year round, at least for me. I love these things. Okay. It's been done. It's been taken care of. My collard greens are all set and all ready to go. They've already been stemmed. You don't really want to include the stems unless you're going to chop it in super fine, because they just tend to be a little bit too woody and a little bit too difficult to cook in time. Okay, that's it. I'm going to get rid of my cutting board. We don't have any more cutting to do for the rest of today. So we're going to get that thrown into the dishwasher. We're going to get my plate thrown into the dishwasher, and we're just going to get my station nice and cleaned. And then everybody, we're going to begin working on the lentil stew for today. We'll also wash up the rice, and it'll be lovely. We will burn the board. I don't know about that one, Liam. I'm not sure if that's what we're going to be up to today. Okay, that's been done, that's been taken care of. My dishwasher is getting filled up. And everything today, it's just all gonna cook so quickly. Another really big benefit of lentils over regular beans is just how fast lentils take. They can take only like 15 to 20 minutes sometimes. So they're super friendly, they're super accessible for that reason. So, everybody, little recap session. We're doing a Creole-inspired lentil sausage stew. For the lentil sausage stew, I have here some sucuk. This is a Turkish sausage, but we're going to be rendering its fat and then cooking the vegetables in its fat. Then, I have my lentils beautifully soaking up so that the skins become nice and flexible before we go ahead and rinse it out. We also have my Cajun Creole Trinity, consisting of, instead of fruit bell peppers, we have the jalapenos, but the jalapenos, onions, and celery, and that's all going to cook down in the sausage fat. We have some charred and mashed up tomatoes, some plum tomatoes, because they're nice and fleshy. I have a whole bunch of garlic here as well, and then we're going to be finishing the collard greens with apple cider vinegar and the lentils with some sage as well. Because dried sage and dried thyme, you see it in Cajun Creole food quite a bit. So, everybody, let's begin rendering the sausage. I have here a nice little saucepan. It's a very, well, it's actually not all that little. It's a pretty big, it's a pretty deep saucepan. We're going to take it. Come on, buddy. Oh, hello. The burner has not been properly set for some reason. Okay, there you go. My apologies. There we go. Everybody, medium, low heat or so. And we're going to begin with just a little teeny tiny bit of olive oil. Now, even though the sucuk is going to give us a good amount of its fat, we don't want to start off the sausage in a completely dry pan because it could slightly char on the bottom. Wait a second. Did my camera flicker again? Did it do the thing? Guys, did the camera flicker while I was turning on the stove? That always happens. Oh no. Oh, that's how you know we're back. A little bit of olive oil. We want a nice, tasty, delicious fat. Feel free to use chicken fat. Feel free to use beef fat. I'm using olive oil, okay? You want a nice, delicious fat because all of it is going to go back into the lentils. So I would use this as an opportunity to treat the fat as an ingredient. Wow, I'm really surprised. I'm a little bit annoyed about that. So medium, low heat or so. And we can probably even begin with the sausage in a pretty cool pan. The goal is to not get the sausage too cooked. The goal is to not get the sausage too crispy or anything, but the goal is just to get the fat rendered. So the olive oil gives it a little bit of an initial start. So I'm just adding all of those coins inside, and we're gonna get that sausage cooking. Get it all inside. Again, we're not going to be cooking it into oblivion. We're not going to be getting it super crispy or anything. But we're just going to be getting it cooked enough that we can infuse the fat with all of those flavors. Loose connection, Ronstein, not quite the case. It's actually because of the electromagnetic something or the other from turning on a gas stove. It's real. It's real, and it interferes with the cables. So I think it would actually be fixed if I wrapped my cables in aluminum foil. Yeah, it's real. It's pretty ridiculous, but it's real. It's all real. Oof. Guys, I've been standing on my feet all day today. I wish, ooh, you know what I need? I need a bar stool that is so high up that it still looks like I am standing. That would be good. I should also wear a tinfoil hat, Allie. I see, thank you. That's some Alex Jones shit. Wrapping my cables in aluminum foil. I do actually think wrapping them in aluminum foil might help them. I'm not being conspiratorial about it. Chef, you're currently sitting, aren't you? No, I'm not. I'm afraid that I am not. Sausage is going. And again, we don't really need to cook it for too long. We don't need to get that much color on it or anything. We're only just trying to infuse the fat. Or we like that wearable show from the TV show Silicon Valley. That's also a pretty good idea. But yeah, today's stream is not going to be too long or anything. In the meantime, though, while the sausage is just frying away, I'm just going to grab some tongs. We're going to check on the bottom. You know, and by the time that it buckles, that is pretty a good indication of like its doneness. It's already been fully cooked. I'm not trying to get it too crispy. I'm not trying to get it too browned. I just want to be able to render out that fat. But I still want to keep the sausages pleasantly moist, pleasantly juicy still, so that they're not just like crispy little cards of meat on the inside. Okay? So there we go. And Godzilla, thank you so much for the sub. Really appreciate it. Daramgar on Saturday, that's right. Because I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. I wanted to make it up to you guys that I'm streaming today. The reason why I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow is for those of you that are still interested in Smash Bros, because I know I have a really big cooking audience, and a lot of you guys are also from Brawlhalla, but I will be commentating the tournament Let's Make Big Moves for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate tomorrow. I'll be casting top 128. And so I didn't go today because I wanted to keep up the show, and I'll be there tomorrow. So it'll be on the Luminosity Gaming channel. That's right. We'll be back doing some Smash Bros. Commentary, which I'm excited about. Anyways, so yes, that's why we're not doing a stream tomorrow. That's why we're doing a stream today. So for those of you guys that are interested in that, that will be available to you. So everybody, come take a look. Come take a look. Look at what has happened with the sausage fat. It is now becoming nice and orange. Those are the spices. That's the hot red pepper in the sujuk itself that is infusing and getting trapped inside of the oil. All of this fat, all of this delicious oil is going to become the basis of a really, really tasty lentil stew today, and I'm really excited about it. Now, again, I am not looking to cook these sausages into infinity, okay? I think that this is an appropriate amount of cooking. We don't need to develop too much fond. I just do not want my sausages to be too crispy or too dry. So off they go. Everybody, they've done their job. Everybody, please say thank you, Mr. Sausage or Mr. Sujuk. Either one is okay. We're just gonna get them out of there. We don't need to pat them dry or anything, because remember, everybody, the fat is as much of an ingredient as everything else is. We want the fat. The fat is our friend. So we have that fat. All of it is inside of the pot at the moment. We've also developed a little teeny tiny bit of fond. Now we're going to get all of my vegetables inside, my onions, my jalapenos, as well as my celery. It's all gonna go in now. We're gonna go nice and close so that that fat does not splash up at us too much, and breaking the fall slightly with a wooden spoon. Get them all in there, get them inside, get them inside, get them inside. Now, everybody, in order to get some good color on the vegetables, it is not just heat, but you also need time. You need to give it the proper amount of time, because the vegetables are not actually going to get any significant browning at this stage. We need to first collapse them. When they collapse, they release a bunch of liquid, and only then can we evaporate all of the excess liquid. And Foxy Princess, it is indeed an apron, but I think from now on we will be apron moding. That is what I'm going for. So I'm gonna get these guys generously seasoned with a whole bunch of salt. And I'm going to mix it around, and with all of the liquid that comes out of the vegetables, my friends, I'm going to deglaze that sausage fond that developed on the bottom. All of those stuck proteins. Take the water, take the liquid, and scrape it up. Scrape up the bottom, scrape it up, and coat the vegetables and all that fat. And that, my friends, is the basis for a really delicious proper lentil stew. That apron looks fresh. It is fresh. It is the first time I'm actually going to be cooking in it. Well, wait. You meant it figuratively. You meant it like it's a good outfit. I see. I wasn't being intentionally, like, stupid. I thought that you meant it looked like it was new, because it is new. Anyways, okay. I took you too literally. I forgot that you can say fresh figuratively, I suppose. Should I scrape the bottom of my pan if I don't have a wooden spoon? And the answer is, well, you could theoretically do a metal spoon on a metal pan, but if it was to be a non-stick pan, tazuraki, if it were to be like a Teflon or like a ceramic pan, then metal utensils are an absolute no-no. If you do only have silicone tools, those are also totally okay to use for something like this. So, it's cooking. It's coming along. Everybody, as you might have noticed, the sauteing has stopped because the vegetables have begun to release all of their liquid into the pot. Everybody, this stew is going to be so simple, but it's so quick and it's so delicious, okay? All of that flavor for something really, really simple. Do I need to adjust my style if I have an induction cooker? Foxy Princess, yes and no. Induction is incredibly responsive and it heats things up super, super quickly. So it's going to change up some of your timings. That having been said, the only thing with induction is you're never really taking the pan off the stove because it actually turns off the cooking element. It turns off the heating element. So it is exclusively pan to stove contact. You don't really get to adjust the heat by lifting it up or anything. So that is the only big adjustment to the style that you have to make if you're using induction equipment. Okay, there it goes, everybody. Once again, all we're doing is we're just collapsing the vegetables and we're looking to evaporate all of that liquid. So many people, they just stop here. They just say, oh, this is sweating. We just want to sweat the vegetables. Not me. I want to get them really nicely and properly browned, my friends. I'm going to have a little sip of my tea. And in just a minute's time, my stock is going to be ready. We're going to pull out the chicken legs. That's my stock. It's done. I'm going to release the pressure. We're going to pull out the chicken legs and we're going to taste that broth. The reason why I also didn't salt it is because the chicken legs, the smoked chicken legs, they have so much salt as it is. And we don't want to improperly season these collard greens or anything. Softening up the vegetables, still continuing to collapse, but also not yet at a saute. Guys, so delicious. They're so yummy. In the sausage fat, mixed in with the olive oil, these vegetables already have a ridiculous amount of flavor to it. Honestly, guys, just by itself, sausages with those sauteed vegetables, that is a meal. That is just a meal. That is just a lunch. And it is still not even done yet. It has still not become the final stew. So I was looking up making stock. It says pressure cook for 45 minutes for stock or 120 for bone broth. What are your thoughts? Are bone broth and stock interchangeable? Good question, Tech Jansen. The difference in a stock versus a bone broth is almost always in the dilution of it itself. With a stock, you do cook it for quite a long time. You do usually extract as much collagen and turn it into gelatin as you can. But because it's a little bit more diluted, it doesn't get as jiggly. It's not as sticky. So what are my thoughts on it? Are bone broth and stock interchangeable? Bone broth is mostly a marketing term. So there is really, really concentrated stocks and then slightly diluted stocks. Are they interchangeable? Absolutely, because you can always add or take away some water. Now, everybody, my stock made from the chicken legs is all done. And that pot, let me tell you right now, it smells smoky. So here's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to get these vegetables aside. I'm going to move them away for a second. And I'm just going to get them onto the other stove on low heat instead. I'm going to take my pot, I'm going to take my pressure cooker pot, and you guys are going to see this lovely stock that I have developed. We're going to take those chicken legs out. They've given everything that they possibly could, and now they're nice and tender. So we're going to take them out so that they can cool down enough that we can shred it up. I'm just going to take them out. I'm going to pluck them out. They're super, super delicate. I don't want to be too aggressive with them. And then the rest of it is going to get strained out. Just so that we can get those solids out of there. In fact, I think I'll just use my spider. Look at those chicken legs, everybody. Look at those chicken legs. They're super tender, they're so flavorful, and I can't wait to get them inside of the rest of the collard greens. But the chicken legs, the bones, all that collagen, it's already done its job and has yielded us a really, really special stock. Now, We have all this other stuff in it though. We have those tops, we have those little vegetable scraps, and that is not anything that we want inside of our final product. Everybody, let's fish them out. We're not making too much stock because I do not want my collard greens to be 50% broth, 50% greens. The greens are supposed to be coated in the broth, and this is what's supposed to season them. So take them out, take out all those little vegetable scraps, get them out, get them all out, my friends, and keep all of that liquid. Okay, and if there's a couple of little tiny scraps of like a little onion skin, it's not the end of the world or anything. I don't care about it too much. Now, I want to taste it. I want to taste it and I want to see how delicious it is. It should be salty, it should be smoky, and we're going to need a whole lot more salt too, because we are making a big pot of collard greens. We want to make sure that they're all nicely and evenly seasoned up. Okay, taste that. Delicious, smoky, a little bit sticky, not at all salty though. So, guys, that's going to be good. Everybody, that is going to be really, really good. I'm super excited about it. We're going to begin by simply diluting the salt inside of the water itself. That makes it a lot easier for the greens to get nice and seasoned as opposed to doing it later on. So 2-3 big pinches of salt. Next, let's mix it around and let's dissolve it as much as we realistically can. Lovely. My onions need to go inside, but first, I'm gonna get my greens thrown into the pot. And all of you might say, oh, Daramgar, that looks like a ridiculous amount of greens. Well, guess what? It's all going to cook down. You just have to trust the process. Trust the process, my friends. Trust the process. Get them inside of the pot. Amazing. I'm going to go ahead and take my tongs wherever I've left them. And I'm going to see if we can wilt any down immediately. I don't really like putting my pressure cooker pot directly onto the stove. So the stove is currently off. But you can see already, my friends, with a little bit of mashing and a little bit of mixing around, the greens are just ever so slightly beginning to wilt. Again, the greens do not need to be covered. Inside of the pressure cooker, the greens are going to collapse and they're going to release plenty of their own liquid. Do not feel compelled to add more liquid, and I need to hear a yes, chef, from every single one of you to make sure that you guys understand. You can already see how much she has begun to wilt. You can already see it happening. Okay, that is just from the residual heat. That's all that it takes. Continuing to mix it in, breaking up those layers, and getting it all inside. Wonderful. I am going to add my onions now. And then in total, the pressure cooking should really only take 20 to 30 minutes or so. If you cook it super far, if you cook it super hard, it's going to get so soft and super unpleasant. Okay, I like to only pressure cook it for about 20 to 30 minutes or boil it for about an hour or so. You want the greens to be tender, but I've also had them be too tender before as well. It is possible. So please respect that as a possibility. And I'm going to get my onions inside and mix those through. It was just easier to first wilt down the collard greens. And we wanted all the heat to go to the greens and not to the onion at this stage. So there we go. Mix those onions in, mix them in. Perfect. And I'm just going to start by pressure cooking them for about 5 to 10 minutes just to wilt them down enough that I can continue to mix it more. 5-10 minutes. In she goes. Again, it will have enough moisture. It will have enough liquid. Do not feel compelled to add more at this stage, everybody. I promise you, it will be a mistake if you add more. Pressure cook, 5 to 10 minutes. I love doing greens in a pressure cooker. It just makes it so much easier than doing it over a pot, because all you're really doing at the end of the day is aggressively boiling it down. Now, my vegetables, let's get them back on. They've been slowly cooking away this whole time. Look at them go. They're getting nice and golden. They're getting nice and delicious. They're getting nice and soft. Everybody, the vegetables are so tasty just by themselves. And I feel like I can't actually resist the urge to perhaps try a little coin. I love sujuk. Guys, that is not sausage meat that you can beat. Oh no. Okay, well, it's really good. It's just really good. It's really delicious. I'm a big fan of it. That's all I wanted to say. Okay, so what else needs to happen for today? Well, the onions, the jalapenos, and the celery, they need to saute. And they need to get nice and soft. Afterwards, we're going to go in with a lot of garlic. I know that's one way to put it. Trash can cat mom, you didn't have to comment on it. Tea time. Hi there, Calico Cat. Hope you're doing well today. Okay. Get them nice and cooked. Get them going. Excellent. After they soften up a little bit more, after they get a little bit more color, we're going to add the garlic. We're going to add the tomatoes. We're going to strain out the lentils and add them inside. And then we're going to supplement it with as much water as it actually needs. Speaking of the lentils, by the way, it is going to be time for us to drain the lentils. They've been soaking in the salted water. They got nice and flexible, and they're all ready to go for today. So I'm going to strain them out. Grab a nice big strainer, wherever it may be. Oh my God, where is my strainer? Thank you, I just found it. And then we're also just going to rinse it off to get any of the excess sediments just gone. Lentils, into the strainer they go. Perfectly soaked. And I'm just going to give them a little rinse. That's perfect for today. Okay. Let them strain, let them hang out until we are, of course, ready to cook them. Whew, lot going on, lot to do. Pressure is building up in the pressure cooker once more. It's softening up the collard greens, and in total, the collard greens should not take too much time. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, everybody. We're going to let those vegetables continue to cook. We're going to add the garlic, add the tomatoes, add the lentils, add some water. And then we're going to add the sausage back in. While we're doing that, while we allow the lentils to boil, we're going to be working on the rice in the meantime. I'll walk through how to wash the rice properly. That'll be nice and quick, nice and easy. And then we'll also be checking on the collard greens periodically. Okay? So, this bowl, I can go ahead and throw that into the sink in the meantime. And we can go ahead and take a look at my chicken legs. Take a look at these bad boys. And all that they're going to need, my friends, is just a nice little bit of shredding. Because that skin just is able to peel off. We don't really want any skin inside of the final product. It's just a little bit too gummy. But these bad boys are going to be so tasty. In with the collard greens, and you can taste it now. Everybody, I'm telling you, buying smoked chicken legs like this and plucking off little pieces of it, it just immediately brings you back to like getting a turkey leg from the Renaissance Fair. I know it doesn't feel like that profound of a statement because I'm comparing a smoked chicken leg to a smoked turkey leg, but it's even better because it's not super chewy and it's not super dry. This is actually quite succulent because it's been brined. Guys, you can see how juicy the meat is still. The Renaissance Fair has nothing on this at all. Ooh, just peel off a little chunk. Just peel off a little chunk. Have a little taste of that, huh? Oh my gosh. Guys, that with the collard greens, that is unreal. That is genuinely going to be unreal. Are you all excited? I'm excited. I'm really excited for that. Now, I'm not pressure cooking it because I don't actually want it to get too soft or anything. I don't want it to completely tear up into shreds. I still want to be able to get a few chunks of that meat in there. So, all my vegetables nice and sauteed. Now, with a disgusting amount of garlic, maybe not the adjective I like to use, with a lot of garlic, we go in and we're going to go ahead and fry that up. And we're also going to get that nice and infused into the oil and get that slightly toasted. Just break it up and move it around. Break it up and move it around. I love garlic, and so should you. And because we're already here, we may as well go in with a little bit of black pepper too. There you go. Whole lot of black pepper going inside. Move it around. And now everybody, let's scrape up all of those stuck sugars. Let's scrape off everything that is stuck on the bottom with those tomatoes. Let's get them inside. Move it around. Basically deglazing with those tomatoes. Bro, the glaze? No, it's the deglaze. Sorry, that was pretty cringe. And let's get some water in there. And we're going to need quite a bit of water for the lentils. I did not actually want to pre-cook the lentils separately. Okay? And the reason for that is because I wanted the lentils to be as flavorful as possible. And so I wanted to cook the lentils with everything else and see how that turns out for today. So, tomatoes, water, all going inside. We're going to get the heat back on up to about a medium or so at this stage. And I'm going to go in with all of my soaked lentils. And because they've been soaked, they're not actually going to need to take on as much water. Get them in there. Get them into the stew, my friends. And we're going to need to hit it with a lot of salt. So the key to this is to not cook the lentils too aggressively. If you were to boil them, they would just agitate inside of the pot itself and they would become really, really mushy and become really broken up. I really want to be able to preserve the texture of the lentils in the final stew. We added a lot of water. We have a lot of those vegetables inside. We added those tomatoes. We need to compensate with a good couple of pinches of salt. Even if the vegetables are salted, even if the lentils are soaked, I promise you guys, you really want to be able to cook this up nice and seasoned. So, a couple of big pinches of salt go in. And we have the tomato skins in there. We have all of those vegetables. I probably would have liked to cut the tomato skins finer, but that's okay. The pressure cooker has indeed built up pressure. So what does that leave us to do? Everybody, it is time for us to talk about the washing of the rice. Oh, but everybody, I need to have another taste of this. The smoked chicken leg, it is sticky. It is still nice and moist on the inside, probably because of the fact that it was brined. Dude, it is so good. Just by itself, it's so good. It's still so flavorful. Okay, very happy about that. I'm very pleased, I must say. So, getting that away. Get that put behind us in the meantime. I'm just very happy about it. I know I keep gloating about it. I didn't actually really cook it myself or anything. It was already smoked how I got it. I wish I had a smoker, then I could make things like that, and that seems really rewarding and really fun. But alas, I do not own a smoker. Okay, let's talk about the rice. Everybody, this is Haiga rice. Now, Haiga rice is essentially between brown rice and white rice. What does that mean? A whole rice grain, or rather, let's just say brown rice, has both the germ and the bran attached to it. White rice has both the germ and the bran polished off. Haiga rice has the bran polished off but the germ intact. What does that mean? It means a little bit more nutritional value, it means a little bit more fiber, and it also means a little bit more flavor. This has the texture of white rice, but the flavor of brown rice, or something a little bit closer to brown rice. Now, the method that I am going to teach you is infinitely repeatable for basically any kind of rice, my friends. And we're going to be doing it on the stovetop, okay? No funny business here, no rice cookers or anything. And I'm gonna make a few portions, maybe, I don't know, a cup of rice or so, maybe a little bit less. But everybody, the key to making a perfect pot of rice, and I need you all to say yes, chef. I need a yes, chef, from everybody watching. The key to a perfect pot of rice is not in the measurements. It is not in the ratios. It is in the repetition. Here's what you need to know. You wash it to get rid of as much of the excess starch as you desire. After you wash it to get rid of the excess starch, okay, you want to gently, gently agitate it a couple of times, and you want to essentially fill it up with water so that it is making contact with the rice on top, and then a little tiny bit more. Technically, in a vacuum, you want a 1-to-1 volumetric ratio of rice to water. That doesn't always necessarily work out in a pot because you have to account for evaporation. I will show you the amount of rice and the amount of water that I like for the perfect granules. But do not trust any recipes that say 1 cup this, 2 cups that. It is all dependent on the vessel. The key is repetition. You want to keep making the same amount of rice in the same pot until you really nail that texture. The amount of water dictates how soft it's going to be. So, you guys are going to keep an eye on my lentil stew. It's going. She's going at the moment. The lentils are going to soak up all of that water, and it's going to get super, super delicious. And all I'm going to do is just agitate it. Ooh, that's tasty. I'm going to simply agitate my rice. I'm going to mix it up, and I'm going to get it passed through water 6 or 7 times. Get it nice and properly washed. Now, hydro rice, it does benefit from a little bit of soaking ahead of time. But honestly, we could still cook it just fine without soaking. Simply agitating it, straining off all of that starchy water, my friends. But I am going to keep some of it. I'm not going to rinse the rice until it's completely clear, because I still want some stickiness to it. Going in. And getting it washed up. Thanks for keeping an eye on the pot in the meantime. Okay. Again, I'm not completely washing off all of the excess starch on the rice, but everybody, the amount of water that we're going to need is the following in just a second. I'll show you. Okay. Here we go, everybody. Take a look. And this is before it's soaked any of it up, because once it starts soaking up water, it's of course going to start looking really different. So take a look. Water to the top of the rice itself, and then a little teeny tiny bit extra. How much extra is the question? It is entirely dependent on the strength of your stove, how long you've let it boil, how long the rice has been soaking up the water itself. The key to this is repetition. That is how you build up an intuitive feel. I am not going to salt this because my collard greens as well as my lentils are going to be really, really salty. But we will be simply finishing this off with butter. All that we need to do for the rice is we're going to put it onto the stove. We're going to bring it up to a simmer. We're going to get it nice and bubbling and then drop the heat and allow it to slowly absorb with the lid on for about 20 minutes or so. Everybody, my lentils, they're cooking up. It is boiling a little too aggressively for my taste. So I'm going to be simply lowering the heat at this stage and softening up all the vegetables and getting it cooking. Let's taste that liquid. Let's see how it's coming along. Super tasty. It is missing one thing though. And that is going to be the addition of some sage. Some ground sage. You see it all over Cajun Creole cooking, especially in stews, especially in something like red beans and rice. And to me, it is one of my favorite additions. So, gonna go in with this much or so. How much is this much? I use the end of a teaspoon, not a measuring teaspoon either, just a teaspoon that I had. And mix it inside. There you go. Again, I'm not really looking to destroy my lentils or anything. I'm going to be cooking them really gently. Still a little bit too raw, still a little bit too under. and they're definitely going to need a good amount of salt more. I've inspired Allie to start cooking some more lentils. I just put them into the Instant Pot. Well, I'm glad to help out in that case. A little bit more salt goes in. Amazing. And I think I actually need slightly less water for my rice. Pour a little bit out. Okay. Whew, everybody, we've been doing a lot of cooking. We've been doing a lot of running around. Lentils are going. They're cooking up nicely. My pressure cooker has done the first batch of the collards. And now I can go ahead and release the pressure on it once again. Oh. Okay, we're juggling a lot. We got a lot going on, everybody. Collards are done for now. We're going to see how tender they are at this stage. Again, I'm not trying to completely kill them inside of the pressure cooker. The lentil stew is going. We're just trying to get it nice and thickened up so that it is, of course, not this loose or anything. Guys, I love lentils. They're so delicious. That is so flavorful. The addition of the dried ground sage has really leveled it up. Okay. Rice is going. Honestly, guys, we don't have that much more active work that we need to get done. All that we're really working on right now is just the collards. We'll see how cooked they are at this stage. We'll see how tasty they are. So who is ready to see the collard greens? And I would like to hear a nice me chef from everybody watching as I do a nice little reveal for you all. I'm so considerate. Sorry about that. I think I hit the microphone. Good. So the collard greens, here's what we want. We want to be able to taste the meat. We want them to be a little bit sticky. We want the greens to be tender, but we don't want them to be absolute, total, complete mush. Some people like it as absolute, total, complete mush. Not me. That is not what I am looking for. That does not mean that I want them chewy. I definitely do not want them fibrous. So come with me. Let's take a look at my pot of collards. You can already see it's reduced so much. Hexo, it is lovely to have you. Hope you're doing well. And it is completely fogging up the camera. Now, once again, collard greens, they're not the most glamorous looking dish. However, they're one of the most deceptively tasty dishes. So, let's go in there. Let's mix it around. You can see how much it has reduced. And look at how much liquid we've gotten. Well, I guess you can't really tell because it is completely fogging up my lens, okay? But even with that little teeny tiny amount of stock, with that little amount of the chicken stock from those chicken legs, we have gotten enough to really totally cover all of those collard greens. So I'm going around, I'm detaching any that have been stuck to the sides for some reason, okay? And we're mixing in the onions. Now, let's go ahead and give it a taste. I'm looking for the collards to be nice and tender. Oh, that's good. Okay, my rice is boiling. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hang tight. My rice is boiling, so all I'm doing is I'm just stirring it up. And I'm throwing a lid on it. And I'm setting the timer for about 15 to 20 minutes. The key, everybody, for the rice, cook it as slowly as possible on the lowest possible heat. Okay? Cook it slowly, and it's going to cook evenly without developing too much of a crust on the bottom. Now, let's look back at these collards. They're looking phenomenal, and it smells, everybody, it smells like those smoked chicken legs. I want to go ahead and really just make sure it is as tender as I would like it to be. It doesn't take any time at all in the pressure cooker, let me tell you. Oh my God. Everybody, just by itself right now, that is perfect. That is so yummy. Very tasty, very, very delicious. However, it's missing two components. It's missing a couple of things. What are those components, everybody? Well, we gotta add those smoked chicken legs back inside, of course. We gotta get those smoked chicken legs, and we also gotta get some apple cider vinegar, as well as a little bit of extra salt. So, let's begin processing all of our ingredients. I'm gonna give my lentil stew a little stir. Just move it around slightly. Make sure I'm not being too aggressive. It is delicate after all. The lentils are absorbing all of that delicious flavorful liquid. And we could probably add the sausages in at this stage. Let me taste those lentils. That's good. Still, not tender enough though. But very delicious, I must say. Let those lentils go. Let them do their own thing, everybody. Let's go ahead and focus. Well, first, let's get those sausages inside. My rice still has about 19 minutes left on it. I wish I started the rice a little bit sooner in retrospect. The sausages go in, and they'll continue to infuse and flavor the rest of the stew. Okay, everybody, my smoked chicken legs. Is this mac and cheese? I'm afraid not, Andrew does, but welcome on in. Hope you're having a lovely day today. So, here's my smoked chicken legs. I'm gonna put on some gloves and we'll get it shredding. And then we'll get it into the collards, and it's gonna be amazing. So here's what we don't want. We don't want any of those tendons, right? We don't want any of those stringy bits from the chicken legs. We don't want any of the skin. We don't want any of those bones, and we definitely don't want any of those joints. So I'm gonna simply begin by peeling off the skin, and guys, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just peeling off the skin. The chicken skin has done its job. Okay, get it all peeled off. Amazing. Next, inspect it to make sure there's no leftover skins anywhere. Skin is the best part, film nigger, only if it's already been roasted. These have been made into a stock. The skin is super, super gummy. But if you've properly cooked the chicken leg, you can of course see how it all pops out. But don't shred it up yet, because we still got to get rid of those tendons, everybody, okay? So take it off. Take it off. Excellent. So delicious. Okay. Now, a couple things still have to go. You see these bones on top? Pull them out. Pull these guys out. You definitely don't want them inside of your final product. Okay? Pull them out. There you go. Get in there. Pop off the joint up here as well. Salvage any meat that you can. Get that bone out. Beautiful. Where's that other bone? I don't see it. I'm looking for it though. That's part of the joint. There you go. Get that bone out. You want it gone, my friends. You see this little tendon? You see this little chewy bit on the bottom? You want that gone as well. You see that joint on the very top of it? You want that gone. It just simply pops right on out. And then this tendon, out it goes. Okay, now we want to be super thorough with our inspection. No parts of the joint, nothing crunchy. We just want nothing but pure meat going into these collards, okay, my friends? So be mindful of this process. Be careful. You want to make it nice for people, right? This little tiny bit of tendon on the bottom. You want to go ahead and just pop that out. Go through it, process it, give it some love. Anything that feels like it shouldn't be there, get it out of there. Delicious. Amazing. Guys, this chicken is perfectly cooked, you know? I'm very, very happy with how this came out. I think my lentils are perhaps boiling a little too aggressively for my taste, but I'm too preoccupied with this that I can't go back and give them any attention. Okay? I think that's done. I think my smoked chicken legs, they're just ready for shredding. Just shred it up. You don't want too small of pieces. You still want to be able to bite into the occasional chunk of chicken. So shred it up, shred it up, shred it up. Just like so. That's good, that's good, that's good. And then every now and then you can have a little taste. Really nice, really tasty. Okay. Almost done. Again, I'm just not looking for any gigantic pieces. That's good. That is ready to be added into the collard greens. But before then, we got to check on those lentils. Back to the stove we go. Hello, Mr. Lentil. How do we do today? Let's move it around. Let's scoop it up. It's looking super, super delicious. Let's give that a little taste. Guys, this lentil stew, so simple, so delicious, but very, very special. I love lentils, everybody. They're so good for you. They're so delicious. I really can't imagine a world without lentils. Wow. Still a little bit too firm though. Needs a little bit more time. Also needs a little tiny bit more salt. I know you're being heavy-handed with the salt, but we gotta be. So, a little bit more salt goes in. Excellent. Mix it all in. And you can see, everybody, despite the fact that they were boiling, despite the fact that we've been breaking it up with a spoon, look at how intact my lentils are in spite of all of that. That is because of the fact that we soaked it. That is the magic of soaking it in advance and ahead of time. Okay. It is time for us to finish those collard greens, everybody. So back with me you go. Come back. Thank you. I'm gonna get my cutting board out. And we're going to add in that shredded chicken, and we're going to season it with just enough vinegar, as much as it needs, to just give it a little bit of acidity. So, smoked chicken. Go in, my friends. Go in, go in, go in, go in. Amazing. Everybody, I'm really excited about these collard greens. These are going to be something really special, I think. And then we're going to start off, you don't ever want to do too much. You're going to start off with just a little splash of apple cider vinegar. Because if you do too much, you can't take any away, but remember, you can always add more. So, a little bit of vinegar goes inside. I'm going to grab a spoon, or rather maybe some tongs. Let's grab those tongs, and let's get that chicken, let's get that vinegar mixed inside. And we'll taste it for salinity. But guys, look at those collards. Chef, does paying up for better vinegar make a difference? Tarina, that is entirely dependent on the kind of vinegar that we're talking about. If we're talking about balsamic vinegar, well, there's real balsamic vinegar, which is super aged and almost syrupy. Right? As far as other vinegars go, there is no point to paying extra for white distilled vinegar, because any semblance of quality is, of course, completely gone. Right? It just is supposed to taste like vinegar. So it is entirely dependent on what we're talking about. Okay, here we go. Everybody, I'm so happy with how these collards look. I'm very, very excited about them. Let's give them a little taste. I'm gonna grab a little fork. So we're tasting for acidity and we're tasting for salinity. And we're going to adjust them both as needed. And you wanna taste it with all of those juices, of course. Amazing. Missing some salt though. But otherwise, ooh, actually, I don't even think it is. I think that's quite good just as it is. I'm gonna try that one more time. Please excuse me. Honestly, I could do with a little bit more vinegar, actually. I could do with a little bit more vinegar and a little bit more salt. Remember, everybody, you can always add more, but you can't take any away at this stage, at least. So, vinegar splash goes in, nothing more than a splash. Remember, it is mostly in the liquid. You want the liquid to be over-seasoned so that the collards themselves are perfectly seasoned. Salt in, mix it in. You want it acidic, you want it salty, you want it meaty, you want it smoky. That's good stuff. That is the perfect amount of moisture too. I'm very, very pleased with how it's looking so far. Mix it around, mix it around. Get all that salt in there. Get that chicken broken up. Everybody, this might be one of the best pots of collard greens I've ever made. It was one of the easiest too. That's good. Guys, that's good. Wow. Okay. All right. We're in business. She's done. I can just go ahead and put them away. Let it cool down enough for us to handle. Now, back to the lentils. My lentil stew has just been going this whole time. Remember what I said, lentils are forgiving. Even if you undercook it or overcook it slightly, it's all going to become okay at the end of the day. Look at that lentil stew, my friends. Let's taste it. See how it's coming along? Guys, that's good. That's seriously good. In fact, we could keep cooking it. The lentils are still quite firm. Very happy. This is some of the simplest food that we've done in a while, but it might also just end up being some of the most delicious. Very, very pleased with myself today, I have to say. But you know, I'm tasting those lentils. I'm still thinking a little bit more salt. My salt canister has gone empty though. We're just gonna continue to reduce. It's gonna continue to soften. We got all that delicious sausage in there. Very happy with myself. That's good. That's so yummy. You can't be upset about that. There's no way that you could be. I have no point to keep eating it. I'm just enjoying myself. Okay, everybody, we've done all the heavy lifting. We've done all the work. The last thing that we're waiting on is just for my rice to be completed, which is going to take about 7 more minutes. And then we'll also wait for the lentil stew to finish reducing, to finish thickening up. The collard greens are all finished. So you know what that means? It is time for us to clean. Let's go ahead and get rid of any and all extra dishes. Let's get stuff thrown into the dishwasher. Because everybody, remember, when you cook at home, you absolutely must always clean as you go. You absolutely must. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with a huge mess at the end of it all, and you're never going to want to cook again. Take advantage of this time. Don't go on your phone. Don't dilly-daddle. Dilly-dally? I don't know what dilly-daddling is. I don't think I said that correctly. Don't dilly-dally. So, get it moved. Get it away from here. Beautiful. Have a little sip of some tea in the meantime. No Godzillas, I don't think anybody is. I'm sorry. I won't even humor you by repeating out loud. I won't give you that satisfaction. Just quickly rinse off my knife as well. Oh, everybody, I'm excited to eat today. I'm hungry. So yeah, not too long of a stream in total. I think this was just about like 2 hours today. Really simple, really easy, but very happy with how it all came out. Get back into those lentils. Mix it around. Oh yeah, the sujuk makes it very special, Eskia, I have to say. You can definitely taste the sujuk in there, and it pairs beautifully, especially with the ground sage. Oh my gosh. That's genuinely wonderful. I'm very pleased with the stew. It's cheap. It's based off of lentils and has so much flavor inside of it. I'm very, very happy with myself. And my collard greens, oh, they're looking excellent. They're looking magnificent, in fact. Okay, let's go ahead and get a plate ready in the meantime. Let's figure out how we want to plate this. So, I can't really plate this like red beans and rice, because with red beans and rice, it's a lot more viscous. It's a lot like thicker. So you really want to do like this nice fun presentation and on a plate. But I don't think I'll be able to do the plate today. Instead, I'm trying to think about what the best way to do this all is. Maybe we could just do this in a really wide bowl. And then we do like a little cup of rice in the middle of it all. And then we do that on top, and then the collard greens in a separate bowl. That's definitely an option. But if that's what we're doing, then I may as well use a different bowl. Let's do this pretty flowery bowl. Let's do this one. It might be a little bit much, it might be a little bit maximalist. We'll see how it ends up coming out. The rice has about 40 minutes left on it. Let's get the butter out of the fridge. I want some nice buttery rice because we're eating some stew today. We're eating some stew, we're eating some collards. I want to get some fat into the dish, okay? And how much butter will we be using today? An aggressive amount. My butter dish is empty, so I must quickly replace it. And I can turn off the lentil stew at this point as well, because she is all done cooking. That is at the viscosity that I want it to be. It is nice and flavorful. Very happy about it. The sausage is not the star of the show today. So let me get my butter all peeled up. There we go. Get the rest of this back into the fridge. And we're gonna do a nice hefty chunk. A couple tablespoons easily. About this much is gonna go in. I'm just cutting it up into slightly smaller pieces so that it's able to melt up easier inside of the rice. Okay, that's gonna be good. So, we got the bowl, we got everything. GBA emulator, welcome on in, I hope you're doing well today. Very fitting title. We do indeed have some Pokemon background music, some Pokemon lo-fi. Ooh, I'm gonna have to taste those lentils one more time, everybody. Let's taste that stew. Let's taste it how it came out. Oh, that's good. That's very good, in fact. You guys, done in about 1 minute's time, everybody. And then we'll take it and we'll fluff it up, we'll butter it up, and then we'll let it soak up the butter for a little bit. Okay, so once again, just getting my coaster ready for the job. And we're going to get a nice silicone spatula as well to mix it up properly. And it is done. Let's take my rice. And everybody come take a look. Even without a pressure, well, excuse me, even without a rice cooker, we have perfectly cooked stovetop rice. Now, we're going to go in there with the butter. We're gonna go in with the butter, in with the butter. This is the Haiga rice that we talked about, okay? Not just plain white rice. A little bit more nutritional, a little bit more flavorful. I really love Haiga rice. Let's get it in there, and I'm just going to fold it over. Look at how perfectly granular it is. Look at how perfect the texture of this rice is, everybody. It is separated, it's perfectly cooked, it's not raw on the inside or anything. Look at that rice, completely on the stovetop, and you don't need a rice cooker to make perfect rice at home. Don't listen to anybody who tells you that. Rice cookers are a nice luxury. They're nice if you're eating rice often, especially. However, you always still need to be able to have, in the event that you don't have a rice cooker available, you need to know how to make rice on the stove. I taught you how to do it. It's super simple. It's super easy. Anybody can do it. That is nice and buttery. I'm just mixing it in. I'm mixing it in. It's going to help with the granularity of it all. Oh. Buttered rice? Absolutely. No problem with that at all. Okay. Nice and fluffy, isn't it? And still, look how separated it is. They need their distance. They need their space from one another. That's good. Let it chill out for a minute or two. Okay? That really gets rid of the last final bite, and it really gives you the best possible texture by letting it sit for a minute longer or two. Okay, let's get my plating station ready. The collard greens, we're gonna have them in a separate bowl. And we're gonna really stuff them in. I'm very excited about them. Come with me to the stove. Let's grab a little bowl. Let's grab my collards. And there it is, my friends. Salty, acidic, perfectly cooked, really, really delicious pot of collard greens. And I am going to give myself a very generous helping of them. And you really want to make sure that you're picking up all of that delicious stock up with it, okay? Because a lot of that flavor is in the liquid, my friends. Be generous with your portions. Be generous. Be nice to people. And let's take some of that liquid, and let's just top it off. 1 and 2. Perfect. Now, ideally, I would let my rice soak up a little bit longer. I'll let it rest a little bit longer. But we got places to be, and we got stuff to do and food to eat. So, let's grab that rice. And I'm going to simply stuff it into a little cup so that we can do the inverted bowl method. Just taking the rice and stuffing it in. Taking the rice, stuffing it in. We're going to make it fancy. We're going to make it look pretty today. Okay? Now, ideally, I would have had a slightly smaller spatula with which I could scoop things up with, but that's okay. Pack it inside. Make sure it's going all the way to the edges. And then everybody, come with me. I'm going to put that away actually before that flips over and makes even more of a disaster, makes even more of a mess. Come with me. We're going to simply take it, flip it over, get it nice and centered. So we have a nice little mound of rice right in the middle. Last but not least, everybody, let's of course get that lentil stew in there. Gonna grab, I guess the same ladle is gonna be fine. And I just want to have the mound of rice still ever so slightly visible in the middle. A couple of big spoons of the stew. Oh, well, I said that, and then I may or may not have slightly covered it, but that's okay. I want a nice generous portion. A savory wreath, that's right. Now, I think my presentation, once again, not the world's best, but that's okay. Last but not least, I have some greens in my fridge, but I figured I may as well go ahead and just use them as garnish. Let's just get them in there. I think I have some dill, and I have some cilantro. Also, symbolic noise. Welcome on in, it's lovely to have you. Happy 4 months to you. Let's go ahead and just get a little bit of dill scattered across the top. Okay? A little bit of dill. Excellent. And a little bit of my cilantro. Just to help brighten it up a little bit more. Okay. Well, I'm happy. I'm excited. It's time for us to go ahead and do a recap, and then we'll get out of here. Everybody, what do I have in front of you today? Is my delicious homemade collard greens and my lentil stew made with some sausage as well. So, collard greens. We have collard greens, of course. We made a stock out of some smoked chicken legs. Is everybody watching? Is everybody listening? I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. We made a stock out of smoked chicken legs and some vegetable scraps. We got this beautiful, smoky, salty stock. We cooked the collard greens in it, and then we also cooked up some onion. Then we seasoned it up with some apple cider vinegar and a whole bunch of salt. My lentil stew, Cajun Creole Trinity. We have celery, we have onion, and then instead of bell pepper, I used some jalapenos. I charred tomatoes, blended it up, or rather smushed it up with my hands. I fried some sausage. Next, in the sausage fat, I cooked the vegetables. I added the garlic, I added the tomatoes, I added in some lentils. I let it cook down, finished it off with a little bit of sage, and then topped it off with some parsley and dill. All of it served over some buttered rice. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy about it. Very, very happy with how it all came out. And I want to go ahead and dig in, my friends. So let's go ahead and get a nice spoon. Very, very pleased with myself. Now let's give it a little taste. All that lentils with the buttered rice. Cheers. Oh, that is hot. That's way too big of a bite, isn't it? Lentils and rice. One of the most ancient combinations for a reason. That's good. It's just so easy to eat. You can just keep shoveling this into your mouth. Tomatoey, smoky, herbaceous from the sage. It's simple eating, but it's delicious eating. The acidity from the tomatoes, very pleasant. Amazing. Collard greens with that smoked chicken leg. Let's give that a taste. That's good. That's really good. Wow. It's smoky. It's nice and acidic. It's so flavorful. That's good. That's really good. Guys, collard greens, hands down, maybe one of the best American dishes of all time. It might be the best American food of all time. This might be my favorite American dish ever. You can't beat it. It feels so good to eat. You can just keep going. Honestly, I can keep going. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm pleased. I want to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it off the camera. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you all enjoyed the show for today. Next stream is going to be Sunday. So today's the 4th. It's going to be Sunday, January 12th. Yes, Sunday, January 12th. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to support the show, !tip, !donate. You can also check out my wish list, or you can also throw a subscription rather. Those are all very pleasant. Those are all really nice to have. Next stream, once again, January 12th, 5 p.m. EST. Everybody, thank you all for being here. I'm going to hopefully try to get a haircut between now and then, so I'm not in as much misery and pain as I am in now. Thank you all for being here. Have a nice week. It was lovely to see all of you again, and I'll see you all really, really soon. Bye-bye. Take care. Be well.